Vicki Massey from Succession Plus. So Vicki is an experienced strategist, business consultant and mentor. She is passionate about people and ensuring that they uncover their true potential and put in place plans to action and achieve their dreams and goals. Vicki is a qualified accountant and her specialty is driving real change in businesses from strategic and succession planning, leadership and implementation. Please welcome the very gorgeous Vicki Massey.
Interestingly enough, my presentation segues nicely with the presentation from Ian last time when we did the Metimeter a survey at the start. One of the concerns that everyone had in the room was about attracting, retaining and engaging key people. So it was a perfect segue, so thank you very much.
Happy to do your background for you.
Okay, and that's my introduction. I am an accountant, but don't hold that against me. Okay, so in any business, which is what you all alluded to last month, people are often, as well as being the key asset in a business, they're often the key challenge. Is that what some businesses have experienced or not?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what we say is really a company's only going to be as good as the people in it. So if we can engage, motivate and keep them retained in a business, you're going to have a better business moving forward. This is an interesting thing. What are you telling your team by the way you pay them? So there has been a lot of research done that the way you remunerate your team members and your staff influences their thinking, their behaviour and their performance. So if we think about that, remuneration does not just mean the dollar figure. And if we think about what happened in COVID, what was also important? Flexibility, lifestyle, work-life balance. So the remuneration is not just the financial, it's the non-financial components as well. And this is going to help influence how they perform for you. The other interesting thing is, if you can think about differently the way you engage, remunerate and reward your team members, you're going to get a better culture moving forward. And what I think most business owners would love, ideally, is if their team members felt about their business like they do. So if you can get your whole team thinking and having that ownership mindset, you're going to get a much more, a business that's flying in formation. Everyone's on the same page, they're passionate about your business the same way that you're passionate about your business. And what we call that is an ownership mindset. And if you can create that ownership mindset, you're going to create a culture of accountability and purpose across the whole business. So what are the components of that ownership mindset? We break it up into 4 components. And those are, first of all, if you have a business with an ownership mindset and you can create that, what you're going to get is your good performers excelling and your poor performers being self-selected out. Not by you, by their team members. So, and that's really important. Who's worked in a business where you think you might be carrying someone else? Exactly. And what does the owner do about it? Nothing. Exactly. What you want to get is that everybody is engaged and those poorer performers are actually selected out by other team members because we don't want to be carrying anyone else. We're actually all have the same accountability and performance goals. The next thing, which is, oh sorry, that wasn't it? Yeah. The next thing that's really interesting, and this is which scares many business owners, and it may not be anyone in this group, but when we talk to business owners about teaching broadly their team the fundamentals of the financials of the business, a lot of them are very concerned. Why do you think that might be?
They'll go off and do it themselves.
Sorry?
They'll leave and go off and do it themselves.
Yeah, maybe. Yep. Anything else? What we've found is that when we talk to the owners about opening the books up, they're worried that their team members will know what they're taking home. Okay, So that's an interesting one. The research shows really clearly that what you don't tell them, they make up anyway. So we've actually done surveys of this. So we'll go into a business and we've said, right, we'll give you a post-it note. You write down what you think the profitability of the business is. We add it all up, come back, and the business owner says, oh, for God's sake, tell them. I don't make that much. So if we actually arm our people with a lot more knowledge about the fundamentals of the business, the profitability, what drives value in the business? People, but what if you're getting a bit business value, what's it going to be based on? The profit. So if we equip our people with the knowledge to help make the business profitable, the business will be here for longevity, which means they've got a job for a lot longer. So everyone's again on the same page. So if we can teach our people a lot more about the financials, we're going to get a much better result in our business moving forward. The other thing is having systems in place and processes. Again, makes the business so much more valuable to sell if we've got these processes and systems in place. But what we need to draw from that is insights in terms of KPIs to drive the business into the future. Accountants like me are very good at saying what we did as a profit last year. That does not help. What we need to know is how we're going to be profitable next year, the year after, and what are the key things in the business that drives that profitability. And then getting, again, key people in the business, having those key performance indicators based on those areas that drive the business forward. The last thing, and this is what I'm going to spend a bit of time today talking about, is the incentive plan. What you then need is remuneration and incentive plan that engages those key people in the business to work in the business to motivate that business moving forward. So what we want is that plan to be self-funding and to help them drive that business forward. Okay, this is the meta question. Yes, it is. So, do you currently, because I'm going to talk about this a bit, do you currently offer your staff the opportunity to have ownership in your business? Yes, no, considering, never thought of it. So have equity in your business. That's okay. So what I'm going to talk through now is actually the concept of an employee share ownership plan and having your employees have ownership in your business. So not only do you have the ownership mindset, but then you have the reward and incentive plan to match that. Okay, the interesting thing is that when we consult with businesses, many times we're brought in and someone said, we've got a key person, what we want to do is offer them shares in the business. And we'll go straight into offering them some equity in the business. And then have minority shareholders in the business. What do you think might be the issue with having minority shareholders in the business?
They really don't have a say.
Yeah?
The trouble is they think they do.
The trouble is they think they do. Yes. So when we're brought in to consult, often we're brought in when these things have gone wrong. So jumped into bed and then the marriage has gone to pieces. So what we don't want to do is actually promote that type of approach. What we want to consider is a ladder to equity and have a prudent approach, considered approach for your employees to own shares in the business that they work for. Okay. So this is a quote from Warren Buffett, a very famous US investor. And what he said is employees are keen to climb the ladder to equity, but someone needs to provide the ladder. Again, have you ever lost a key person because they didn't think there was an opportunity to have equity in your business and you didn't know how to go about it? Yes. So what we need to do is provide that ladder. So let me take you through what the ladder to equity is. First rung is where we probably all started as an employee, and we earn a wage, a salary, or an hourly rate. And even though it says this is where most employees sit and stay, we would hope that most employees don't want to just sit and stay at that rung. We would hope they actually want to progress through your business and have a bit more of a career path in your business. doesn't mean they have to get to being the managing director. What I'm talking about is a career pathway in the business and wanting that business to succeed. The next rung, which a lot of businesses go to, is an income model. And that is where you offer the employee a bonus or commission. What do you think might be flawed about that model? Yeah, so in financial services, a lot of bonuses are paid in September. When is the employee turnover? October. Okay. What about any real estate agents here? So real estate agents obviously usually pay their sales agents commissions. So what you'll find is in the morning, someone from Marshall and White will come and see you and quote you. In the afternoon, someone from Marshall and White will come and quote you as well, because they're pitted against each other, because they're paid on commission. So it's very short-term thinking. It adds no value to the business whatsoever. It doesn't increase the value of that business moving forward. So yes, it's an incentive, but it doesn't actually create the behaviours or ownership mindset that we need in the business moving forward.
The other thing it does is optimises behaviours to maximise the bonus at the expense of other behaviours.
Yep. And the other thing about bonuses is people start to become entitled to them. So I earned 100 grand this year with a 20 grand bonus. Next year I want to earn 110 grand with a 30 grand bonus, with no value created for the business at all. The next ladder up is more aligned to the thinking and behaviour we want, because it's profit share model. So then we start to pay people based on the profit share. The issue with this is while it gets the employee thinking more like a business owner, it still doesn't retain them in your business. You haven't done anything to lock them in. So yes, it's a better model, but not probably the optimal model. The next model is to actually allow employees in your business to have ownership in that business. We're not talking about control. So really important here, equity is not the same as control, which is why we don't really subscribe to the minority shareholder model. So what we want to do is offer them the opportunity to participate in the equity and understand that they then get rewarded on a combination of a commercial salary plus dividends, but that doesn't mean they necessarily have control of the business. If they want control of the business, we need to mentor them into that position. And we don't want a business, which I'm now disentangling, one with 9 partners that all think they've got control. How difficult do you think it is to make a decision in that business? I've presented to them about 4 times so far just to get a decision. Seriously. We don't want so control. If you think about larger companies, there's protocol around control, there's governance. That's what we need in all our businesses. It doesn't matter how big or small you are, control needs to be managed. So we want to have a gradual transition of responsibility and carefully monitor KPIs to that position of the business. Okay. So if you can manage this correctly, or in the best possible methodology, you can motivate those employees and provide a win for the founders of the business, which is key. A lot of founders have put a lot of sweat and tears and effort over many years into their businesses. So they do need to be rewarded for that. We want the business to have the win, so it has longevity, and we want the team members to have a win for what they're contributing to the business. The interesting thing is, in terms of performance, where you have higher degrees of equity ownership across the broader spectrum of a business, the performance increases from about 7 to 23%. Because everyone's on the same page. They can contribute their ideas, and they know that if their ideas are implemented, it's actually going to help them, the business, and the founders of that business. So the performance increases. Retention nearly doubles. This hits your bottom line. This makes you more profitable. Why does it make you more profitable?
Organisation of knowledge doesn't go much against the door.
Yep. And we're not having to recruit new people every couple of years. You're retaining your IP in the business. It's a much more valuable business if we can retain key people and it can have lower staff turnover. So this is actually nearly doubles retention. So, next question, if it works. Otherwise, we'll be just yelling out.
Yeah.
So, what are the reasons, if you haven't considered it, employee ownership, what are some of the reasons you haven't considered it? You don't want to lose control. You're not sure of the best way to do it. You don't know the value of your business. So we do need to know the value of our business if we're going to offer equity to people. Don't want minority shareholders or other. If you want to yell out your answers, that's going to be quicker. Show of hands. So don't want to lose control. Anybody? Nobody. Gosh, you're a good bunch. Or you're not being truthful.
Sorry, even just read through it's just a bit.
Oh yeah. Okay. So you don't want to lose control.
Yeah.
Not sure of the best way to do it. Don't know the value of your business. And or nothing. Oh, there you go. Don't know the value of nothing. Okay. So it is working. Yay.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. One of the other people that's got another reason, what would be the other reason? Someone yell out what the structure, as in what do you mean by that though?
Not all organisations are limited by shares, for example, or incorporated with shares.
Okay, yep, okay, fair enough.
One that comes up quite often is what happens if they leave? How do we separate through shareholders?
Exactly. So, very good point. So all of these issues, particularly the leaving one, and control and not sure of the best way to do it, is probably what I'm going to take you through now. So exactly those reasons are the things that prevent people from doing this. If you can put in place a structure that allows you to have a very clear way of people exiting, that you don't lose control of your business, that you can still share all the financial information, or the key financial information, and retain the people in your business. Is that something that you would consider doing?
But if you didn't go to step 5, control, and just went to step 4, just equity,
Yep.
dividends.
Yep.
There's not much of an impact on the business should they leave. Or am I misunderstanding?
In what way?
In terms of how it's scribble, so to speak.
So let me take you through how it works, and then we'll come back to that question, because the structure, the way you do it is, the key thing with an employee share ownership plan, which I'm going to take you through now, is that you can design them however you want, bespoke to your business. And it's operated through trust law, not ASIC law, which is quite different. So I'm going to take you through that now. I hope. There you go. Awesome. Okay, so companies with a high degree of employee share ownership grow faster. We just talked about that before. So the research shows that before the performance increases, they're also more profitable. They live longer and right at the harder times. So if you've got employee share ownership, you will live longer and right at the harder times, faster. You attract better paying clients. Why do you think that might be?
More engaged team.
More engaged team, but also everyone's aligned to the profitability. You will actually get people wanting to demonstrate the value of what your product or service is, because they're aligned to the profitability of that business moving forward. They get better paying clients. They contain better workplace cultures. And particularly now with younger generation coming through, they want a sense of purpose and engagement. They want to be a part of it. They want to contribute. So if you can get that better workplace culture, you'll attract more of the better quality people to your business. And more importantly, Also, the team tend to be better off themselves in terms of wealth. Okay, so an employee share ownership plan is a practical solution for three things: key people retention and motivation, succession planning. So this is the succession planning tool. So the business I work with or partner with, Succession Plus. It is a succession planning tool. This is a real solution for succession in your business, and the earlier you start succession in your business, the better. You should start it almost from day one, because what you're trying to achieve is a business that will keep going, perhaps without you in it. That's, the definite, or that you can sell to someone else. And this will help you with funding retirement as well. So it's an actual solution for all those things. In terms of retention, I talked about it doubling. It costs the business up to 45% of someone's annual salary when you lose them. That's right to your bottom line. So if someone's on 100 grand, you lose 45 every time you turn over people. So if you can retain them up to double, you're actually retaining a lot more profit within the business. The key thing with an employee share ownership plan is the way you design it usually counteracts all the objections to going into it. So it can be designed and structured to create a discount or penalty if the employee leaves early. So there's a retention in it. You can have a bad leaver clause, which means that if someone that you've provided ownership to takes your clients, they forfeit the right to their shares. So it's a very clear rule within an employee share ownership plan. If they commit fraud, anything of those lines, they actually forfeit their right to their shares. We can have vesting style clauses. If we are wanting if we're actually wanting to sell a business, we can put a stay and bonus clause in there. So having an employee share ownership plan does not preclude you from having any other selling strategies in your business. So you can work with these plans with a strategic sale in mind as well. And this is an ongoing plan. This is more about long-term value thinking. So we don't just do it 1 year, we do it over many years. So it's ongoing contributions. And also, someone talked about the value of their business, you get access to an annual valuation, because we are actually valuing the shares every year. And you must do that to meet the tax legislation as well. The other component of these is they're extremely tax effective. So they're a very good tax structure, and they come under the ESS guidelines in the Tax Act.
When you say tax effective for who?
So they're very tax effective. So I'll go through that really quickly. I'm going to go through it. Wait on 1 second. Okay, so I'm actually going to go through that now. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is align the business owners with the employees. So this is how it actually works. So it is a legal arrangement. So an employee share ownership plan is a legal arrangement. It's a trust that's set up. So it's a legal entity. They are also known as employee share schemes, equity plans. So there are all different styles of employee share ownership plans that can be designed bespoke for your business. There's not one size that fits all. What we use is something called a peak performance trust. This is the actual vehicle that you use to put in place. It is an employer-created trust, so the employer creates it, and it's only there to buy shares from the current shareholders. It can't go into business, it can't go into debt. It is a purpose-built trust, and it's only there to buy shares from the current owners. That's all it can do. So that's exactly what it would do. The employer, in this example, puts the profit share into the trust and buys equity from the current shareholders. That is a tax deduction for the company, that profit share. If I was to receive that profit share in my own name personally, what would happen to it? Tax. And if I'm at the top marginal tax rate, I nearly lose half of it. Right. If I receive equity via profit share, my tax is deferred for up to 15 years. By which time, if you do the modelling, I don't have the modelling here, but trust me, by which time you would be able to use your dividends to pay your tax at that time if you do the modelling and take that through. So, deduction still for the company. In my name, I'm not taxed for it for up to 15 years. So very tax effective. The reason the ESS rules from a tax perspective are so generous is because it gets bipartisan support. So Liberal likes it because it's good for the business owners. Labor likes it because it's good for the workers. So they have very, very generous tax rules. This is an example of how that profit share would work. In that company, if you see at the top there, you actually set a benchmark. So you say in your business, our profit benchmark is we want to make a profit of 500K. If we achieve anything over that, we are willing to put 20% of that into the employee share trust on behalf of our employees. In this case, the company made 600K profit, which is 100 grand above their benchmark, and they agreed to put 20% in, which is $20,000. That $20,000 actually goes into the Peak Performance Trust. It goes back out and buys the shares from the current shareholders. So this is what we're talking about in terms of succession planning and retirement funding. Those shareholders release the amount of shares that equates to the value of $20,000. It gets transferred into the Peak Performance Trust, and then the units are distributed to the employees. If they were all equal, they would get $5,000 worth of units each. If they have one unit, they have beneficial interest in one share. That means if there's dividends paid, I get the dividend because it's beneficial interest. So even though the shares may not have fully vested with me, I get the dividends from day one. So this is really key. So I start to, over a period of time, get my commercial salary plus my dividends. And over a period of time, my dividends will increase in value because as hopefully we're growing the business, not going. And those dividends, also the value of my shares, my units, goes up because you get access to that annual valuation. So myself as an employee sees that I am contributing to the value of my shares going up, I'm getting dividends. And often those dividends will be fully franked. I am taxed on my dividends because these are real shares, just like if I had shares in the CBA.
Is there any tax break for the current shareholders? Because I'm assuming they're
Yes,
making capital gains if they're making a profit on it, right?
Yeah, but they're getting the money back as capital gains, you're right, so they should access a lot of the capital gains tax concessions. So yes, so you're getting your money back as capital, not as so you should be able to access those concessions quite easily. Again, you need to get personal advice on that, but that's the general rule.
And the dividends can still be franked, I guess?
Yep. Yes, so the dividends that go through to those unit holders are fully franked, usually. So this is a very attractive model in terms of these employees. The other thing is, at the end of that transaction, the current shareholders in this instance now own 98.5% of the business, and the Peak Performance Trust owns 1.5%. So if dividends are paid, they're paid proportionately. So it's very transparent. So if $100 is paid, $98.50 goes to the current shareholders, and $1.50 goes to the Peak Performance Trust, all proportionate. Yep.
That payment from the company to the trust, is that just an expense?
Which one?
The original payment, so the 20 grand.
It's a tax deduction for the employer,
Yeah.
and it just passes
just
through.
expense.
Yeah. The other opportunity with employee share ownership plans is there's many ways to fund these. There's not just one way. So I've given you the profit share methodology. What if we've got a key person that's really keen on the business and wants to buy in? That's perfectly fine. We can treat our unit holders different. They don't have to be all equal. So we could say to one particular employee, or they could say to us, I'm really keen on buying in. That's fine. I'll issue you an offer to buy into the business. If you accept that offer, you use your own personal funds or your line of credit, and you can buy in. That money goes into the Peak Performance Trust. back to the current shareholders, they release those shares, and those particular units are distributed to the employee that wanted to buy it.
Why would it have to go into the trust?
Why
If
would
there's
what?
if there's an employee wanting to put up his hand and say, I want to buy shares, why not just go straight to the shareholder?
Because you have minority shareholding issues. This is really clear.
Yep.
So when I leave this company, so I'm a minority shareholder, what we get called in is everything's gone to shit and there's lawyers involved and everything's happening. In this case, if I exit, I'm no longer an employee, so I have to leave the trust. There is up to 12 months before I'm paid out to make sure I'm a good leaver, not a bad leaver, and then I just get paid out the value of those shares if I bought them myself. If I haven't bought them myself and I've got profit share, it will depend on whether that's vested with me yet. So after 2 years, I may only get 20% of the value. So what am I going to do as an employee? Stay. It's a very, very clever model.
If an employee buys in, they buy units, and then the trust buys shares off the company. So is then the employer liable for capital gains, or not?
No, so the shareholder that received that payment,
Yeah.
so the individual person that received that payment would be liable for capital gains tax depending on their personal circumstances.
Yeah.
So yes, not the company. You
Yeah,
can
the
actually
yeah.
issue new shares in the company if you want to. That's the other way, but I won't get into the complexity of that. How much going on time? Yeah.
So just that point on that initial payment, which
Yep.
is expense by the employer, they're treated as an employee's expense.
No. It's just a tax deduction. Yeah.
So it's not doesn't go to the calculation of payroll factor.
And that's because it's funded through profit share as opposed to a purchase, which comes the other way. So
Yep.
to purchase it attracts capital gains tax of some.
No. So, but the shareholder that's receiving the money
Yeah.
always has to pay capital gains tax. It's a release of, so they're actually selling their shares in every instance. In every instance, the capital gains tax, that's the individual, that shareholder up here, in both instances receives a payment. So they actually receive cash, and they need to pay capital gains tax on that,
Or access a whole lot.
or access a whole lot of concessions that are
Yeah,
allowed.
well, yes, small business and all that kind
Yep.
of stuff. Yeah.
And the employee, as I said, if its profit share does not pay tax on that amount for up to 15 years, or if they leave the company, because obviously that's a tax trigger event, I've left the company, or if we sold the company strategically, and we all participated in that payout.
And are they taxed? Are they taxed as a capital gain, or are they taxed as a
That's
income?
more an income payment.
It's an income, so they're not eligible for your 50% after a year. 50%
No.
capital gain discount.
So what, as I said, the other part of it is the dividends. So if the dividends are paid, it's proportionate. So as I said, if that 98.5% still owned by the current shareholders, they still get 98.5% of the dividends. So as this goes on, after, you can have this running for many years, but it's always proportionate. And then what you usually do as a company is have a dividend payout policy. So just because you made the profit of 500k doesn't mean you agree to pay out that full amount, because most businesses still need to retain some. So you might have a 70% payout ratio of your profit and it gets distributed. So what you have over time is this ongoing contribution model where there's an ongoing purchase of shares, as I said, a succession tool, and an ongoing equity and dividends to the employees. So this is not about short-term bonus thinking. This is about how do I increase the value of my business moving forward? How do I use this as succession planning? How do I retain people in my business and make it more valuable? The tax concessions, as I said, is tax deferred plan. So that means the employers can defer the tax on the shares they had until the earliest. So 15 years external sale or leave employment. There are many case studies that we've got, but the key thing for the moment is that Australia has lagged in terms of employee share ownership plans. They're used predominantly in the US, France and in the UK, and you'll find most companies over there have ESOPs. And actually have a certified ESOP company, which we now have. So we've got the certified ESOP company badge that you can put on your company if you've got an ESOP in place. At the moment, we have 100 plans in place with 1,000 employees, just over 23 mil in value and 2.7 mil in units. So these are, as I said, these are now vehicles that are attracting a lot more attention in Australia, particularly post-COVID. That would be the most inquiry we get at the moment, is on employee share ownership plans.
An employee side, like what magnitude are we talking about? Because I automatically think at the top end of town, but
No, I'm right through from, I've got a tradie with 2 or 3 employees with one, with other, hundreds of employees. So right across the spectrum.
How are shares valued? How do you arrive at a
Okay,
price?
so how do you value the shares? That is done independently. So we value, our company Succession Plus values the business. It has to be done independently from a tax perspective. It cannot be that, I offer you shares and then say they're worth this. No, they have to be valued correctly, and we value them on a sort of discounted cash flow methodology. Every 12 months. So yeah, every year, again, and the employee can see their shares hopefully going up in value if you're running your business well and it's growing. And that's it works particularly well in businesses that want to grow.
It's actually interesting because there are obviously different models in terms of how companies implement it. This one's quite smart, in many ways, coming from few organisations actually that had share plans, international global companies, where they didn't employ a trust structure. They offered shares directly, vesting of shares every 3 years or something like that.
Yep.
It was actually, in some cases, that was deemed as a detractor, not a attractor, because from a tax perspective then, you actually had to pay the tax up front on what you were given, but it doesn't vest for 3 years, so you had nothing for 3 years, but you had to pay the tax up front. So models like this, by the way, that's it's a big step forward compared to even what some of the big end of town that you mentioned, Robert, actually do. So yeah, it's actually quite smart.
And the other part of it is, as I said, the rules are clear if you leave. There's no shareholder disputes. It's very clear. So I've got time for one more question.
you do, yes.
Obviously designed a retention.
Yep.
But what if you decide you don't want to retain that person anymore?
Very good question. We still have an employment agreement. So I still employ you. If you're not performing, we can certainly still terminate you as an employee or make you redundant. And then the rules would be, if you've been there for 5 years and the shares vested with you 50%, after 12 months, if you're a good leaver, you would get that payout. So I can still terminate you as an employee if that's necessary. Yep. Any other questions? Yep.
On the bad leaver definitions, so we have a long-term client who actually paid us like this, but the definition of bad leaver is pretty much everybody, because they're a fast-growing company, all their profits are going into it, so basically anybody who wants to leave is considered a bad leaver. The trust deed, we write with every business individually. So if we need to alter a definition for a particular circumstance, we can, if we have to. But you're totally reliant on the major shareholder to do that. As the person who owns the units, you've got no. If they want to define it as you're a bad leaver, that's bad luck.
It is, but what you're trying to do is not put this in place in good faith. So usually when we're consulting with somebody, we will talk through this and work through and say, well, what do we think is reasonable moving forward? What do you actually, what's the purpose here? We're not trying to make this, a scam from the business founder's point of view. We're actually trying to make this an attractive proposition. And remember, you're invited to participate, you don't have to. So and if you want people to participate, you want to make sure that the rules seem to be fair and reasonable and just.
But if it was a bad leader,
Yep. So it's at direct,
cheaper option.
it's at director's discretion,
Yeah.
of course, at all times.
Just, I've seen two of these, and when it was a bad rebate, they paid them out what they bought in at, even though their value was gone up more to avoid court case.
Okay, yep. I haven't come across one like that, but yeah, we don't see every ESOP that goes around, so I haven't seen that happen.
Just a couple of comments about succession. So what Vicki has described is a really, really important growth mechanism. The other thing is that it's a really important succession mechanism. So as well as being a part of the fueling of that growth by engaging your employees, you think of someone coming to buy your business, one of the key things that they're going to want to know is that are those employees staying? Yep. Yeah. So the second part of that then is if you're actually going to sell the business at some point to some strategic partner, having those employees locked in is a massive upside in terms of valuation for the business. So you grow more quickly and it'll be more valuable.
Thank you.
Chance for one last question. There was a hand up over here. You've got a
in UK and US and the other areas where it's been going around longer, is there any evidence of dissension within the workforce and that with people having these share schemes versus people who haven't, and how it runs? Or is that not really an issue?
The research that we have is also from Stanford University and other universities and other countries, but we've also done our own research in Australia. So, but the research does go broadly across other countries, not just our country. Yep. Their models are slightly different to ours because their tax laws are different. So ours is not going to be exactly the same as the one in the UK, for example, because we've got companies where we've got them in the UK and here, and they are slightly different. Yep.
All right, put your hands together for Vic.